I'm fixing your hair. Trust me, I know how to do hair.
No.
I do mine all day, every day.
You don't even have.
You don't even know
Look
what
at-
you're talking about.
You don't even have hair.
Stop it.
Hey, all you party people, I'm Adeline. Hey all you party people, I'm Adeline.
And I'm Mr. Dunbar, and this is the
No.
Calm Down.
This is Risen Church.
Oh, good. I love Risen Church. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today is gonna be fantastic.
We're gonna have juggling, tigers on bicycles, close-up magic, and a t-shirt cannon.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I can't wait.
Obviously, I'm kidding about that stuff, Mr. Dunbar. Dad, I thought you said this guy was a pro.
I'm just a pretty face. It's gonna be a great event, and it's even better knowing that you're gonna be a part of it. So grab yourself a waffle and a coffee,
Gross, no coffee, but I will take a waffle.
and I'll grab myself an Adeline.
Bye, guys.
But first, let's get these people the information they need.
Take
Take
it
it away,
away,
Mom! I thought you would say Mom.
I thought you would say Megan.
Oh, well.
Thanks, Adeline and Mr. Dunbar. My name is Megan, and I'm part of the Risen Church team. Thank you so much for joining our online experience today, and this is this week's absolutely necessary information.
Announcement 1!
We have a few things that we hope will happen for you through this. We hope you laugh. We hope you ask questions. We hope you experience God's love in new ways. We hope you connect with someone through this social media. And lastly, we hope you will share this message. Inviting other people to a better life with Jesus is what Risen Church is all about. Our first week online, we had 9 people to share. Last week, we had 22 people to share. And it reached almost 3 times as many people because of that. So it's got me thinking, what would happen if even more people shared it right now? We have a massive opportunity to share the love of Jesus with other people. So let's take a moment and share it right now. I'll wait so you don't miss anything important. Did you do it yet?
Announcement 2!
Next Sunday is Easter Sunday, and everything is going to be super normal. I'm kidding. The world has gone weird, and so have we. Few of you may have always been a little weird. But this is a really special season for the Church of the Risen Jesus, and we're doing everything we can to remind ourselves what Jesus has done for us and the kind of freedom and joy and peace we get to experience every day because of it. We are preparing Easter experience packets for you to pick up in Powhatan or Midlothian this Friday and Saturday. It will contain a few elements to help make our online experience extra special next Sunday. And we might have even thrown a few goodies in there. You can text me or Drew or email me and we can arrange a time for pickup.
Announcement 3!
Thank you so much for your continued financial support of Risen Church. We exist because of the generosity of people just like you. And we're able to be a real force of change and help to people in need in a season like this one because of generous people like you. Just this last week, we were contacted by a fellow Risen Churcher about a friend of his in the Philippines that needed emergency help to feed his family. And because you give, we didn't even have to think twice about sending a family of 8 2 weeks worth of resources and food. If you would like to give to help people this way, you can go to risenchurch.us/give. We've all been locked down for the past couple of weeks, and as we head into a holiday season, I just want to encourage you to stay strong. Times like this, we want to be around our friends and our family, and that's not really a possibility for so many of us right now. So take advantage of the technology that we have to stay connected. If you're feeling down or discouraged, don't hesitate to reach out to someone. Give them a text or a phone call. And if you're not down and discouraged, don't hesitate to reach out to someone who you think might be. We all need each other right now, and we can still be together apart. Back to you guys.
Did you share it?
I wonder what would happen if we hit 40 shares this week.
We'd be viral. Duh. But the good kind, though. I'm making those bags for Easter for my mom, or with my mom.
Or with? For or with? You're making Easter bags for your mom?
No, I'm making Easter bags with my mom.
Oh, with. Next, we're hearing from a cat. Is that one of those cats on a bicycle you were talking about?
No, a different cat.
Oh.
It's a human lady. Her name is Cat. You know her.
Oh. So is she gonna ride a bike?
No.
Oh.
Can't with this guy. Just can't. Cat, you deserve a better intro than this. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, I present to you Josie and Chase's mom.
It's a little much, don't you think?
Hi everyone, I'm Kat. I am part of the band at Risen. I sing on the worship team. I typically wear very tall shoes and I've only tripped on stage one time. I want to share something that's been helping me through this stressful time, so I'm going to read you something from Bible Promises to Live By. One of the most challenging tests the Lord may give in life is to trust in His faithfulness during difficult times. We fail at these tests when we lose sight of God's big picture and trust in things other than Him. Therefore, it is important to continually strengthen our faith by reflecting on His faithfulness toward us. God said He will never fail us, forsake us, or break His promises to us. If your trials are tempting you to lose heart and doubt His faithfulness, think back to each time when God has carried through on His promises to you. Ask Him to help you remember that you serve a God who can always be trusted. Proverbs 3, verse 5 tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understanding. There's a fear of the unknown right now, and it's really hard to understand. The situation is hard for everyone, whether you are working from home, or going to work, or homeschooling children, or laid off from a job, or you're home all by yourself. It's hard no matter what, and I think we're all probably wondering why and what happens now. And there have been times in my life when I went through something difficult and challenging, and I questioned why. Why is this happening to me? Just why? And later on, maybe a month later, maybe it was 10 years later, I would get clarity. Eventually, I would realize, oh, that's what God was trying to teach me. That's what He was trying to protect me from. Oh, that's what He used to redirect my path to something different. And we're not guaranteed to ever understand, but I do know that on the surface, difficult seasons and challenges appear to hold us back, but in reality, they inevitably propel us forward. We grow and we get stronger. There might be a chain of events happening in your life right now that's going to lead to something amazing. So just keep trusting. I miss you all, and I can't wait to see you again.
That was great. She did deserve a good intro.
Oh, she got one. No thanks to you.
Next, we're gonna push pause on everything in life and sing a song together from our homes all over the place.
Our homes all over. Here's a song from Thomas.
Tomas!
Through every battle, through every heartbreak, through every circumstance, I believe You are my fortress, You are my portion, You are my hiding place. I believe You are the way, the truth, the light. I believe You are the way, the truth, the light. I believe through every blessing, through every promise, through every breath I take. I believe You are provider, You are protector, You are the one I love. I believe You are the way, the truth, It's a new horizon, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today. Mercies that are new. All my fears and doubts, they can all come true. 'Cause I can't stay long when I'm here with you. It's a new horizon that I'm set on you. And you meet me here today. Mercies that are new. Oh, all my fears and doubts, they can all come true. 'Cause I can't stay long when I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. I believe you are.
I'm having so much fun doing this thing with you. I never want it to end.
That makes one of us. We'll be back at the end of this to send you to the rest of your day. But for now, here's today's message.
You're my boy, Dad. Ah.
Thank you, Addie, and thank you, Mr. Dunbar. I know you've got a crazy busy schedule with that whole production outfit that you are a part of, but glad we're able to be together on video this week. And thank you for tuning in, those of you watching here. I feel like I should say right up front, if I'm watching something live and there's no end to the video in sight, I'd like to know how long it is. From this point, it will be about 20 to 25 more minutes. So I know you might be thinking, like, I got other things I want to do today, or let's be honest, other things I want to watch today on TV. So maybe it's nice for you to know up front. This is a weird season. I told you I'd stop saying that it was a weird season whenever it stopped feeling like one. It hasn't yet. Things are stressful and difficult and a little grim in the world at the moment. And one of the ways that I find to be really useful to cope with that or to deal with it or to emote is to laugh, to find some things that are funny, to still try to enjoy things in life. And so I thought maybe I would include some funny stuff in the video, right, in my message. Like normally I like to do that. I like to include some humor, but I can't tell if you're laughing or not. I can't see. And I had some great jokes that I stumbled across. I wrote a little bit of some jokes, but then I also mostly just pulled a bunch of them because people are writing great jokes. I'm not the only one who copes with laughing and smiling when things are weird, apparently. And I wanted to share those jokes with you, and I found the perfect outlet to do it. I found a totally safe and totally sterile studio audience to help me out with my opening. So let's throw to that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's, you're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you. That's very nice. It really is. I haven't been applauded in a while. You know, if I would love to just come around and shake every one of your hands, but I'm not going to do that for obvious reasons. Not because of COVID-19, but because I'm afraid you might be out of toilet paper in your house. Oh, but seriously. Well, but seriously. Apparently, this is in the news, apparently a lot of labor and delivery departments at local hospitals are preparing for what is expected to be a slight baby boom in about 9 months. You know, all those couples in isolation. And in related news, a lot of middle schools around are preparing for 2033 for the rise of the quarantines. Is this thing on? Is it on? Clearly it's not. Oh, man. Oh, but seriously, I I'm tired of everybody saying that this whole thing reminds them of a disaster movie or like a zombie movie or something like that. Come on, people. It's nothing like that. There's a key plot point that is so important in those movies. It's when the government ignores the scientist and oh yeah, I see it now. Drew, don't get political. I'm not getting political. Just making jokes, people. Just making jokes. Trying to put a smile on everybody's face. Oh, what else? A recent study shows that many introverts, where are my introverts at? That's what I thought. Many introverts are, after 4 weeks of quarantine, coming into the 4th week, many of them are coming out of hiding and sending text messages to their friends saying, why haven't I had to flake on you in the last month? Oh, that's good. That's good right there. That's good. Oh, but seriously, people, seriously. Our grandparents, great-grandparents, they saved the world by going to war, by working hard, building something beautiful for us to all be a part of. And us, we're going to save the world by sitting on our couches, eating pizza-flavored Pringles and Funyuns, watching Netflix for hours on end. We can do this, people. We can do this. We're made for this. We are built for this moment. Oh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that's about all the time I have. I'm really so thankful. I appreciate you coming out tonight. I know that you risked it. You risked it to come out here, and I appreciate that so much. But I wanted to end on one last joke. I wanted to make a joke, and I spent a lot of time trying to write, the perfect joke about social distancing, and but this is as close as I could get. You're laughing. And he's laughing over here. Oh, she's laughing real hard. Oh, we are laughing. We are laughing. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. I'm here all night, and the next night, and basically all the nights until about July or so. So, thank you. That was hilarious. You can tell by how all those people were laughing so hard at it. That's how funny those jokes really were. That's how it really landed there. Also, I did see in the news where a Florida pastor was arrested for having assemblies after he was told not to. So just for the record, nobody was really there. Today is Palm Sunday, or at least it was when we had this conversation as a church community. You know how the internet works. And that means that next week is Easter Sunday. And we are the Church of the Risen Jesus. So that day's kind of a really special one for us. It's a big deal. Like, we're founded on the idea that Jesus has risen. So this year is no exception to that. Nothing about the current way that we're gathering, nothing about this format changes what this season reminds us of. Nothing about it changes who we are as followers of the resurrected and risen Jesus. And so I've prepared a few messages, one for today and one for next week, that are kind of connected, that speak of the resurrection and speak to who Jesus is and what all this has to communicate to us. And then next week, we actually have a couple of special things for you in your online gathering that you can actually stop by my home. We'll have them out on the porch, or the R building to pick up a box. Now, this is also assuming that no further rules are made that we really shouldn't be going anywhere for any reason whatsoever. But as long as you're still getting out and about, and I totally understand if you're not, but if you're still getting out and about and you'd like to pick up one of these boxes, there's a couple of elements that we would like for you to have for our Easter service so that we can actually do something kind of together on that front. And if you don't want to pick up one of those boxes, but you'd still like to kind of participate, we can send you a list of essentially what was in the box and a digital version of part of it so that you can still participate with us. But anyways, let's get into today. John chapter 11, verse 1. A man named Lazarus was sick. He lived in Bethany with his sisters, Mary and Martha. This is the Mary who later poured the expensive perfume on the Lord's feet and wiped them with her hair. So the two sisters sent a message to Jesus telling him, "Lord, your dear friend is very sick. So there's the setup to the story. We're given 4 names: Mary, Martha, Jesus, and Lazarus. And then we're given a couple of details. One is, who is Mary? Well, Mary is the one who worshiped Jesus in the next chapter. Lazarus is sick, and Jesus is a friend of this family, and so they send for him. Now, I hope you don't consider it to be in poor taste that I'm teaching about a story that starts with a man falling ill and in need of emergency intervention. And also, spoiler alert, he's not going to make it through this particular illness. That's kind of what part of the story really highlights. That story alone could make some of you uncomfortable. It's like, really, Drew, you're going there today? You're going to make me uncomfortable on my own couch? No, I don't want to do that. I also hope that you don't consider it to be in poor taste that this story actually ends once Jesus shows up and raises Lazarus back from the dead after this illness kills him. Because you could get pretty uncomfortable about that if you're afraid that I'm going to say, like, you shouldn't fear any illness or any virus or disease that comes against you, because even if you die from it, Jesus will raise you back from the dead. I'm not going to say that. That's not the direction that we're going with this. In fact, I'm not going to talk about anything supernatural whatsoever this week. I'm going to talk about a much more practical level of this story, but I do want to highlight next week we'll talk about some supernatural stuff and some things that I believe to be true. But I think this story highlights something else, and I don't want to teach that anyways. I don't want to teach that some sicknesses aren't real. I don't want to teach that if you have enough faith, then nothing can come against you and that you can't get sick and that you can't die from a sickness. That's not even true. That's a bad teaching, right? That puts a lot of people in danger. It's also not true. I mean, if that's true, then that means that over 50,000 people in only the past couple of weeks have contracted a virus, died of that virus, only because they didn't have enough faith, or because Jesus didn't consider them to be a close enough friend to come to their aid. That's just not true. That's just not the way the Scriptures actually lay this out. But more importantly than those things, I'm not going to teach that in this story, because that is not what this story is about. This story that unfolds in John chapter 11 isn't about what Jesus did one time for one family. It is about who Jesus is. It is about his character and his nature and his heart towards people. It is about him showing his followers who he is and what it is that he's called us to do, and how we can participate with him in the restoration of all things. That is what this story is about. This is a story about the very message that Jesus came to declare and what we are here to do. For many who might be watching right now on a platform like this, I'm fully aware that the whole miracle idea is a little hard to swallow, right? When we start talking about people being raised from the dead, you start checking out a little bit. And you might consider yourself to be a skeptic when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I get that. You might find yourself pushing back if we start to talk about the divine at all. And I get that too. I'm a skeptic myself. You are in good company. I am also that. I almost always prefer to teach the character and love and the way of Jesus over the miracles. And it's not because personally I don't believe the miracles. I do. I do believe them. I just don't know what to do with them. I just don't know what to say about that. For all my hippy-dippy ways, I'm ultimately a pragmatist when it comes to this stuff. Now, I'm also a byproduct of some things that I can't explain. I'm a byproduct of some things that I would have to say are miracles in my life and in the lives of people that I know and love and care about. But I'm going to approach this without getting into the supernatural at all today, because I don't think the story is necessarily even about just that. I want to encourage you that no matter what you believe or what you think you believe or what you're open to believing, that you would allow even the tiniest elements of mystery in your life to be the elements that open you up to perhaps the work of Jesus in your life. If there are aspects of who you are and what you've experienced that you can't really explain, that you can't really put a finger on, that you can't really mathematically or scientifically boil down, there are things that you're just so grateful for that you don't exactly know where they came from or why you experienced it that way, that maybe you would be open to the idea that perhaps those spaces of mystery are the spaces where Jesus might have something to speak into your life. And for this message today, like I said, I'm not going to tell you about any miracles. I'm not going to get into that. We'll get into it next week. Nothing that unfolds in the next few verses that we're going to read is even supernatural. This week, I just want to talk about getting a glimpse into who Jesus is and what his message is actually about. Verse 4, when Jesus heard about it, when this message that Mary and Martha sent about Lazarus made it to him, he says, Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. So Jesus calms everyone's fears by telling them that this sickness will not end in death. He does not say Lazarus will not die. And I know you're like, well, yeah, but no. He says this sickness will not end in death. And none of the disciples ask any questions. Can I just tell you, I would have some questions. When he says this sickness will not end in death, I, as a disciple and follower of Jesus, am the type of person who is going to say, Jesus, why'd you say it so weird? I know what you're thinking. Like, no, Drew, you wouldn't. You wouldn't know to ask that. I would say, absolutely, yes, I would. I would say, Jesus, why'd you say it so weird? Why didn't you say he's not going to die? Why'd you say this sickness will not end in death? Did you just wink? Did you wink when you said that? They don't ask any questions about it either. That's a weird way to say it. I would have jumped on that, I promise. And you think I wouldn't? I would have. No, it happened for the glory of God so that the Son of God will receive glory from this. So although Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, he stayed where he was for the next 2 days. And then finally, he said to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. Jesus receives the message that his friend Lazarus is very sick. He assures everyone this will end happily. He doesn't say he's not going to need our help. He doesn't say we're not going to go. He just says it will end fine. And then he goes about his business for the next few days. And after a few days, he turns to his disciples and says, all right, now let's go help Lazarus' story end happily, like I said it would. It should be noted that Jesus didn't lie to his disciples. He withheld some information about Lazarus whenever he said it will not end in death. He didn't say he will not die. He withheld some information that I assume he would have given if they had asked for it. If they had asked, wait, why did you say it weird? If they had asked, is Lazarus okay? If they had said, what exactly is going on there? And Jesus values questions, and I believe he would have explained more to them. And that's important for this story as we see it roll on. But let me stop and just give you a statement to consider, that the fullest revelation is given to those who ask the most questions. That's just a reality of the Scriptures, a reality of the New Testament. That is just how God sees fit to do things. Curiosity really is a virtue in the Gospels. Not every question gets answered, but those who ask Jesus the most questions are clearly the heroes of the story, and they play the largest roles later on. Peter asks more questions than anybody, and he ends up being called the cornerstone of the early structure of the church. Even controversial and aggressive questions are useful in the narrative. It is only two camps of people who end up being enemies of Jesus, or worse, those who call themselves followers but aren't that connected. It's those who don't ask any questions because they're always sure that they know the answers, and those who don't ask any questions because they just don't really care enough. And I think this makes this story very interesting. Because his disciples do not have any further questions about things, because they are more concerned about their own issues and how everything's going to impact and influence them, they end up looking pretty silly in the end of this story. The disciples objected. Rabbi, verse 8, only a few days ago the people in Judea, where Lazarus is, were trying to stone you, and we don't mean recreationally or medicinally. Are you going there again? So at least they're asking a question here. But Jesus responds to that question in sort of a strange and metaphoric way that we're not going to get into today. But it brings it back around. He brings it back around to the most pressing question, the question that I believe he wanted them to ask all along. That he wanted them to be most concerned about this particular thing from the very start. He said, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I will go and wake him up. Another great place for questions, right? Another great place for the disciples to chime in and say, wait, what is going on with Lazarus? What is it going on with this friend of ours or this friend of yours? What is it that they need there? It's almost like he's trying to get them to see there's more information that I'm willing to give you if you would just ask for it. I'm willing to give you more of a revelation of what it is that I have for you to do here if you just ask. He wants them to see your self-preservation and your personal preferences are not what this story is about. Our friend needs help, so we're going to help. Verse 12, the disciples said, Lord, if he is sleeping, he will soon get better. Still not asking questions, still just like, we know what he needs, and we need to stay away from Judea. They thought that Jesus meant Lazarus was only sleeping, but Jesus meant that Lazarus had died, which he probably would have told them to begin with if the disciples were first and foremost concerned about what Jesus was concerned about. He probably would have revealed, or at least given them more clarity about what it is that he had for them to do next, if they had been more concerned about what he wanted than what they wanted. If they had heard the news about Lazarus and heard the response that Jesus said, I'll take care of it, and then he followed it up a couple of days later with, all right, let's go take care of Lazarus. If they had then said, so your friend Lazarus is pretty bad off, huh? And he really needs us, huh? So we're going to go. Yeah, let's go. This whole exchange would have looked so different. But because the disciples aren't asking Jesus any questions except for about their own self-preservation and their own comforts, because they're only concerned for themselves and how this all impacts them, they end up looking kind of silly in the end. So he told them plainly, verse 14, Lazarus is dead. I'm going to end here today, and we'll pick up in the story next week as we witness Jesus raising this man from the dead with some incredible things to say about that actual miracle, and also foreshadowing that he will raise himself from the dead. But I promised the skeptics who might be joining us right now that we wouldn't get into anything supernatural today. I just want to talk about the natural. I just want to talk about what is happening on the surface of this story. Today, I want you to consider what kinds of challenges and questions this whole thing raises for you right where you are. Maybe not a whole lot has changed about your life. Maybe everything has changed about your life. Maybe everything is inconvenient for you right now. Maybe it's the most convenient your life has ever been. I don't know. I don't think there are very many people who would say 1 month ago today and today my life is exactly the same. I think we're all going through a massive, massive transition, even if it's just temporary. But I want you to consider what kinds of challenges and questions does a story like this raise for you? This story is one of one misunderstanding after another. It appears to be confusing and frustrating for both Jesus and his disciples. Can you relate? Can you relate to feeling frustrated and confused about what's going on in your world? It appears to be a story of inconvenience and ultimately a story of something a little scary for the disciples when it's all said and done. And it all revolves around one fundamental principle of who Jesus is and what he wants us to do in this world. This story was about Jesus and all of his disciples being challenged to put aside their agendas and their desires in order to care for the needs of other people. It's a story that I believe ultimately is meant to challenge followers of Jesus to consider, what would I do? How would I respond? Am I asking any questions about this? Am I asking anything that doesn't just sound like a self-preservation question? Am I asking any questions that don't just sound like me trying to protect my comforts and my way of life and everything as I've always known it? See, the thoughts that are dominating most of our minds right now are big and scary and inconvenient and frustrating and real. And I'm issuing the potentially upsetting invitation to you to consider whether most of your negative thoughts might really boil down to us making the whole story about us? Are you making the whole story about you? Because that's a lot of weight to put on yourself. Am I making the whole story about me? Is the heaviness that I feel in this season, is the fear that I feel, the worry that I feel, maybe the frustrations that I feel about how all of this is affecting me negatively, does it really kind of boil down to me making it all about me? Now, if this doesn't resonate with you at all, that's fine. We can still be friends. Maybe this isn't something that you're experiencing at all. No hard feelings. Maybe you would say, I am not freaking out. I'm not upset. I'm not frustrated. I'm not experiencing any additional anxiety. And I don't see what the biggest deal is for anybody else. I would say, no hard feelings. That's fine. But if this hits home for you, and maybe you find yourself saying, I am more stressed right now than usual. More stressed than I'd like to be. I'm a little more scared right now than I usually am, and certainly more scared than I'd like to be. I feel a little more overwhelmed right now. I'm more uncertain than I would really like to be. I'm worried, I'm angry. If you're willing to lean into the idea that perhaps that is partly because I am making all of this about me, then I want to encourage you and challenge you to consider a couple of questions that might really be helpful. They might change everything for us. We can't change the circumstances that we're in, but we can change how we interact with the circumstances that we're in. We can't change the situation that is kind of overtaken the entire globe at the moment, but we can certainly change how we interact with it all. I want to encourage you to consider a couple of questions for the times when the fears and the worries and the anxieties and the things that are happening right now in our world, when those show their head in your life and they start to mess with you. Whatever kinds of things are coming at us, you're frustrated because your work life isn't the way that it normally is. You're frustrated because your family life isn't the way that it normally is. You're frustrated because you don't know what's going on with your money. You don't know where it's all going to be. You don't know what's going on with the stock market. You don't know how your retirement's going to handle this. I want to encourage you with a couple of questions. Remind yourself, first of all, in those moments, this story is not about me. That's such a useful thing, and it's cliche for a reason. It's such a useful and important thing for the followers of Jesus to remember. The story is not about me. I'm going to look pretty silly for acting like it is. I'm going to feel pretty silly for acting like it was all about me. Ask yourself instead, who can I help today? How can I make somebody else happy today? Make that your prayer. That's my challenge for when you feel frustrated, when you feel overwhelmed, when you see circumstances unfolding and you're tempted to approach those circumstances the same way the followers of Jesus did, the disciples did in John chapter 11, by saying, wait, we're going to go over there. We don't need to go over there. Wait, they need what? They don't need that. Wait, we're supposed to do that? We don't need to do that. And instead to say, pause in those moments and say, God, how would you have me interact with this? God, how can I make this less about me? God, how can this inconvenience that I'm facing be for your glory? How can you use this moment that I'm in to help somebody who needs help? How can I be used to make somebody happy today? All right, take them home, Addie, Mr. Dunbar.
Thanks for spending this time with us today.
I love to give you a hug or a high five, but you know the deal right now. Air high five.
Join us Tuesday evening at 8:30 for question and response time with Megan and Drew.
Sending your questions now to RoboRisen
Or comment on this thread.
What if I have a question right now?
Hold it.